All right, time for sexual follies. So if you follow the Drudge Report, and everybody follows the Drudge Report, it looks like it was printed in 1990, but it's still the essential news site on the internet. You may have noticed that Matt Drudge is a little bit obsessed with sex robots, okay? And I think that basically that's because they include both the word sex and robots, and I think that's just very compelling. But the thing about sex robots is it actually is an important issue in this funny way because of what they call transhumanism, which is the fact that we are clearly heading into an age when human beings are going to be enhanced, but by adding stuff to their brains and attaching them to machines. And sex robots are kind of part of that, something that you can have what used to be an essentially human relationship you'll be now able to have with a machine. And I think transhumanism is a big deal. And one of the ways you can tell it's a big deal is because of so many, when I was a kid, all the movies were Westerns and about World War II, because America was thinking about its past. It was thinking about how we became the greatest nation in the world, which when I was a kid, we really had just become. We were going to the moon, all this stuff was happening. And so Westerns and World War II were the two big subjects of the movies and of our games that we played. Whereas now, everything is superheroes and science fiction, as I predicted, by the way, that we are now thinking about superheroes and science fiction because we're thinking about how we're going to move into this new age when we become essentially superheroes, but what are the ethical problems going to be? What are the moral problems going to be? The noir detective story, the tough guy detective story, which I made my living at for so many years, is now usually, like Blade Runner, a detective story about the nature of humanity. That is this mystery that the detective is trying to solve, because transhumanism is right around the corner and people sense it coming, and they sense it in their subconscious, and creative people sense it. And so they make these movies, and that's what I feel that they're all about. They're sort of preparing our minds for this to happen. So with sex robots, one of the reasons I think that Drudge is obsessed with it, and so many people are obsessed with it, is because it sort of is telling us that this relationship that is so human and is at the core of our humanity may now be shunted off, or it may be possible to shunt it off into a machine. And what does it mean? So there are now people coming along who feel that sex robots have to be regulated, that we have to prepare for sex robotism with regulations. And the things they're talking about are, should you be allowed to have a sex robot that makes noises as if she's being raped? Or should you be allowed to have a sex robot who looks like a child? And what's really funny about this to me, and I mean, I know that kind of sounds not that funny, but it is kind of funny because how can you rape a robot? I mean, to rape somebody is to strip them of their will. That is the crime of rape. I mean, rape is just, is in terms of its actions, if it's not violent, rape is just sex. What makes rape is that you are stripping somebody of their right to choose what they're going to do. A robot doesn't have that right. A robot can't make choices. And what difference does it make if the robot looks like a child? For all I know, that's going to help some, pedophile take it out on a robot instead of a real human being, instead of really damaging a human being. It may be a positive thing that he can do that. And yet, underneath all that, I can't help but feel that there is a question that robots like this and questions about regulation bring up, that is the discussion that we are having but not having. Remember I was talking yesterday about the fact that the left ruins everything by making all their discussions really battles for power. They're not really talking about what we think we're talking about. We're always talking about whether the left should get more power for the government. And with this Me Too movement, which has really become this weapon that they're wielding. I mean, I know they're really honest people in the Me Too movement, but it's now become this weapon that the left is wielding to get power. Underneath that is a question about the nature of women, the nature of men. It's also in this kind of transgender discussion. What are we like? And the reason I'm so opposed to feminism, the reason I've always been so opposed to feminism, is because I oppose its opposition to femininity, because I think that masculinity and femininity are both things that we need in the world. I think we need women to be feminine and we need men to be masculine, because those two forces make the world whole. And I think the conversation that we really need to be having is, what is a human being? And once we get finished with that, we have to talk about what is a man and what is a woman, because that's the conversation that's underneath the conversation we're having. All right, tomorrow is the mailbag. Be there. You got to subscribe. Go to thedailywire.com, hit the podcast button, hit the Andrew Klavan podcast, hit the mailbag button, and ask your question if you are a subscriber. Ask anything you like. Answers guaranteed 100% correct. Will change your life for the better. God, who knows? Who knows? I'm Andrew Klavan. This is The Andrew Klavan Show. We'll see you again tomorrow. The Andrew Klavan Show is produced by Robert Sterling. Executive producer, Jeremy Boring. Senior producer, Jonathan Hay. Our supervising producer is Mathis Glover. And our technical producer is Austin Stevens. Audio is mixed by Mike Cormina. Hair and makeup is by Jesua Alvera. The Andrew Klavan Show is a Daily Wire Forward Publishing production. Copyright Forward Publishing 2018.